What's up, my people, and welcome back to another video. In this video, we're back for a concept video, and this is going to be interesting because it is a map concept, and for a pretty interesting type of map, it is a cave-based map that takes place in an underground area. So yeah, very interesting, and yeah, this is going to be an interesting video once again with an interesting map concept that is pretty crazy in some cases. But anyways, let's get into it. So let's first start off with the description of it first before we move on to like the POIs or whatever. So once a large cavern, now a cave city full of mines and other tunnels, the Subterrane was once a refuge for people to live during the IMC Militia War and Outlands War, but due to an unsolved energy crisis personal to the city, it had to be abandoned. The Subterrane has lied dormant for a long time, but now it is prepared to be the new arena for the Apex games. With a dark atmosphere, verticality, depth, twisting tunnels, mines, steep ledges, small waterfalls, and an underground city, it makes for one of the most thrilling and treacherous arenas in the history of the Apex games. Alright, so before I show you the map, here are some of the extra features that would be on it. So minecarts for traveling quickly through mines, and lifts for going down into the bottom portion of the map. So you have the key right here, so tunnel, mine, bridge, tunnel entrance, mine entrance, and this references an underground POI. So now let's, oh wait, whoops. Here we go. Okay, so here it is. So the map is called Subterrane, and it's located on the planet Logrado. Now, it's not an actual map, it's just a made-up map. So, there's a lot going on here, as you can see, but I will be explaining it all, starting with the center of the map with Cave City. So, it's kind of similar to Skull Town and kind of similar to Capital City. There is a city in the center of the map called Cave City, and it's a lot of different buildings compiled into a city, a cave city, and it would look pretty interesting to say the least. So the lights going on would make it really kind of eerie, and I feel like this would be a really scenic map, or really scenic POI, even though it's like a city that lies dormant with like few lights on, making it really creepy. But yeah, there would be some lights going on in there, so not to worry about that. And yeah, there's also a mine entrance in the city, so you can enter one of the mines and do whatever you please. And then the two POIs surrounding it, there's Outskirts North and Outskirts South. So let's start off with the Outskirts North real quick, which is basically, it's more of sort of like a camp area, where like they would set up to like go to mines or such, or to go around like, well, not necessarily like a camping portion, but there's like a sort of a town like on the outside of this area or in this area. And there are some campgrounds as well for miners. And then you have the Outskirts South, which is more of a camp than it is like a town. There are some like buildings though that'll be in it, but it's more of like a campsite for any of the miners or whatever. And yeah, there would be rocks, of course, in like sort of the empty space, but this whole map will be a lot more open per se than a lot of other maps. So yeah. Then right over here we have the over platform. Now the over platform does have some housing units that are more confined in this area per se, or maybe this area. And then there's a little bit of a stadium over this side. I don't exactly know what the purpose for the stadium is though, but its nickname is the over platform. And there are some buildings like over here and some rocks over on the edges. And then there's also a lift going to the underground part of the platform or the stadium called the under platform. Now the under platform, it's more of a bunch of rocks over there, and there is some leftover stuff from the mine that's under there, and it's also like a big entrance to one of the mines. So yeah, it should be really interesting. Like there are probably going to be a lot of like minecarts scattered around this area, some tables scattered around, and whatever. Just a lot of old mining equipment will be under here, and yeah, and there could be some good hiding spots as well, like miniature like tunnel sockets or whatever. So yeah, that'll be a really interesting POI, and how it's like two-sided, I guess. And now moving over here, we have the Eroded Fields. So the Eroded Fields is pretty much like a lot of spike rocks are in this area. And yeah, that should be really interesting. Multiple different sizes, of course. And there are very few buildings in this area. A lot of it is pretty open, to be honest. You also have a tunnel entrance here, so you can go into one of the tunnels and find some loot if you please. But yeah, it will be a really interesting area. Very few buildings again, but a lot of spike rocks, and of course there would be some supply bins scattered around the area as well. It will be interesting when it comes to gunfights. Well, I don't know, but there is also going to be some open space that you got to be aware of. And yeah, and over here there is the spiked bridge, which has some rock spikes on it that are, of course, but it's a lot more of a hollow bridge, because as you can see, there's a tunnel that will actually go through it, which will be really interesting. And yeah, and then you'll have this POI called Cliffside, which has a waterfall there, it's gonna have a waterfall, of course. And then it also has a tunnel entrance over here. And then right under Cliffside right here, there is going to be a POI called Arena, which is kind of similar to the platform stadium, but smaller, I guess. And it'll have like some stuff scattered around it, some equipment, but it's not like gonna be like, that's not gonna be like the platform area, really. And I think there'll be a little lower tier loot here as well, since I don't really think it's gonna be like a target POI. I could see Cave City or the Outskirts part being like big POI spots, though. And yeah. And then over here we have diagonals, which is kind of similar to Eroded Fields, but different in this sense. The rocks there are actually going in sort of a slanted diagonal way, and they come in all different sizes. Like, it's going to be some interesting terrain to maneuver through. Definitely, like, you're gonna have a lot to go through when you're going into this POI, so yeah, fights should also be interesting. Like, kind of think of those icicles in Epicenter of World's Edge. Like, those are what how the rocks would be like in diagonals, but they vary in size, so it will be really interesting. And I would be curious to see what that POI would look like in game and such. Then you have another tunnel entrance here, going all the way down here. And over here you have this little rock platform called the Gold Rush. Now, it's more of just a smaller POI platform with some loot on it. There's could be like a chance to like get like one gold item from there as well. So yeah, that'd be pretty interesting. And then over here you have miniature rocks. Now, this is just a bunch of like different rocks or that are scattered around this sort of area, and bridges connect them, so you can pretty much go up and down through any of them. Whatever. There's not going to be too much loot you can collect from this spot, though. But there will be some loot there. Of course there will be. There's got to be loot everywhere in this place. And this place could really make for some interesting gunfights as well. Be careful, though, because you could fall in this area. And then you have a mine entrance that's down here, so you take that bridge to get to the mine entrance. Same with that one right there. And then below the Eroded Fields right here, there's a minefield. Now, it's not an actual minefield with explosive mines under the rocks that will kill you if you walk on the wrong spot. It's basically just, there's spiked rocks under there as well. There's some mining equipment that was left over, and there's a pool of lava in there as well, so that's pretty interesting. Actually, maybe a couple pools, who knows. But there's also spiked rocks from the ceilings and on the floor, so yeah, that'll be an interesting spot, especially with some lava there. And yeah, and kind of moving on, there is also a spot under diagonals called Ceiling, which is, I don't know how this POI would exactly be like, but it's pretty much just some of the diagonal rocks on the ceiling, and yeah, it would make for some interesting stuff. And there would also be some mining equipment there, leftover mining equipment, maybe like a few supply bins. And then over here we have Silver Ledge, which is pretty much just an open ledge. It's a little slanted, and it's not as hard to maneuver from, but since it's so open, and there's not a whole lot of cover you can get behind, it is probably not the spot you'd want to be, let's just say. And then over here you have Chained Rocks. So Chained Rocks is like there are some rocks there. A lot of rocks scattered throughout this area can make for some decent covering and stuff. You could probably do some interesting movement in this area as well. And there's also some spiked rocks from the ceiling of the cave that are coming down as well. So yeah, that'll be really interesting, especially how there's like multiple other different types of rocks all throughout this area. And there's also there will be a few campsites in this area as well. So kind of similar to Eroded Fields or Outskirts South, there are some campsites with some buildings, probably smaller buildings though, so you're not exactly going to, it's not, I don't know. But yeah, there's also going to be a tunnel under it as well. And over here you have the isolated zone, which is just more of a massive platform or whatever. There's like one large building there that used to be some sort of prison. And yeah, and there's also like a couple other buildings as well, but most of it is pretty open with some rocks to help with cover or whatever. And there's also a large tunnel that is under the isolated zone as well, although I would not recommend it, especially if the zone is not landing on this area, because if you get trapped in a tunnel, or in any of these tunnels for that matter, then you might be screwed. And that's also for the mines as well. And then connecting isolated zone to another POI called Ridge Walls, we have a smaller POI called Bronze Bond. It's more of a rotation area. There's a couple supply bins there, a few supply bins, whatever, but it's not really like a big POI. It's maybe if you like want to go to isolated zone, you could go there and rotate there, get a few kills or whatever, but it's just more there as a rotation, not necessarily a looting spot. And then over here you have Ridge Walls. So Ridge Walls is similar to Silver Ledge, except it has a lot more slants and it's steeper. A lot more steeper lumps, hills, or whatever. Quite a few rocks or whatever, sharp rocks. And there will be a few supply bins as well. And there will probably also be a broken lift here, or a broken elevator lift that you could probably go in as well for whatever. But yeah, this is another dangerous POI. Well, not really a dangerous one, but it is an interesting one. And connecting Ridge and going over this bridge from Ridge Walls, you over to Small Falls. Small Falls, there's a waterfall there. It's a small waterfall, and yeah, you also have two mine entrances here, and you can go into this mine right here. And this mine goes over to another POI called Manufacturing. Now, manufacturing is pretty much a camp or whatever, where they used to manufacture some technology stuff like metal and all sorts of that. So it's like going to be kind of like a construction site, like maybe like there'll be a crane there, or maybe some old trucks, some good old supply bins, and maybe like a couple buildings as well to give it some good touch or whatever. And then of course you got the mine under it. And then you also have another smaller POI right here called Diamond Rush. Now it's another platform rock similar to Gold Rush or Bronze Bond or whatever, but this one is more of on a slant, so you're gonna be kind of like moving down a little bit, and it's, yeah, a little steep, not too steep though. Like there's like still two places where you can loot there, and you actually can get some pretty high tier loot from Diamond Rush. And yeah, and it also connects you to the over platform, so that's pretty cool as well. So you can pretty much rotate from here to there, which would be pretty nice. And yeah, and over here you have Platinum, Platinum Purge, that's what I wrote. Sorry, my handwriting, I kind of made it a little small on here. So yeah, Platinum Purge, it's a circular platform that has some decent loot on it, although it's pretty much just a small little looting spot in case you want to go to the Unhinged Bridge. Now the Unhinged Bridge, even though it may not look like it, it's going to be a little bit of a bigger POI. There's going to be quite a few mining equipment like scattered across it with some supply bins, and there'll be a couple broken lifts there that you can get into if you want to ambush a team or whatever, and those broken lifts will also have loot inside of them. And yeah, this one will be really interesting, especially with some rocks to help play behind cover. This will be an interesting POI, definitely. And then over here we have Magnetic Field. It's a little more of a rotation spot if you want to go from Outskirts North to the isolated zone. And yeah, there's not really much here. Probably a few loot will be scattered across it, but yeah, it's also floating rocks. So interesting, when all the other rocks are basically connected from a stem that goes all the way down. And then you have stripped land right here. It's it's a little bit of a bigger POI, medium-sized POI, I guess. It's similar to the Unhinged Bridge than the Spike Bridge, but there's fewer cover spots and fewer supply bins, fewer loot. Yeah, I don't know. This is just a medium-sized POI. That's just POI, I guess. And then here's another little underground POI right here called Intersection. It's basically this. So there's a mine and a tunnel that intersect here, and there's like a big gap here, which, yeah. And there is some loot here. I don't know if it'd be a smaller POI or a medium-sized POI, but there'll be some supply bins there and some other spots you might be able to get loot out of. Yeah. Also, minecarts will pretty much be scattered throughout the mines. I don't know how many minecarts there'll be, but there'll be some for you, or whatever. Then, also forgot to mention this over here, there's also Emerald Rush, which, kind of like Diamond Rush, is on a slant, but it's more of slants on both sides. So in the middle it's more level, but there's slants on both sides. And also there's some Emerald and Diamond elements on like these two POIs as well, which should be interesting. And this spot also has a good amount of loot that you can get. So even though it's a smaller POI, it's going to have a lot of loot there for you to get and for you to go. And also, let's check out these two other underground POIs that I missed, called Danger Zone East and Danger Zone West. So let's start with Danger Zone West. Now, Danger Zone West is going to be an interesting one. There's going to be a lot of gaps in the floor where there'll be a bunch of rocks that are like lower level than what the main level of the danger zone is. So there's going to be quite a few gaps, and you can actually use lifts, like, or there's going to be a lift like in this area. No, I don't know how many lifts will be scattered across the map, but there will be some zip lines or lifts to get you across the gaps or to get you down into gaps where you could probably ambush teams from. Although it's a little bit risky, seeing as how if you fall through one of those gaps, you might be screwed and you might fall to your doom. So yeah, you really got to be careful of the gaps that are up in Danger Zone West, and it will for sure be interesting as well to see the different types of plays. There will be mining equipment scattered across as well, because you can see there is a mine here. And yeah, mines will also probably be kind of constricted since they do run into tunnels sometimes, or kind of go off into their own tunnels or whatever. And yeah, tunnels are basically more constricted than mines. So mines have a lot more entrances than tunnels will have, or whatever. Mines are in wider tunnels. But anyways, yeah, there's going to be a lot of gaps through the ground in Danger Zone West, so be careful of that, but also try to use them to your advantage, because it could possibly help you win fights or bamboozle the enemies. And of course there'll be some supply bins there or whatever. And then you have Danger Zone East. Now, Danger Zone East is, well, it's similar to Danger Zone West in the sense that it's dangerous, but it's dangerous in a different way. There is a bunch of lava in Danger Zone East. There's some lava waterfalls, lava pools. You are going to want to be careful. And there's also zip lines that help you like go across lava pools or the lava river as well. So that will be pretty interesting. So it's basically an overflow of lava. And there is some broken lifts, or some lifts that you can go down to get to the main level, or to get down to the underground level and such. And there will also be some gaps in the ground as well, but not as much as there will be in Danger Zone West. And there will be the lava fall, I should say, will pretty much be in the center or on the border of both of the danger zones. And yeah, that'll sure be really interesting. I'm interested to see how a cave map would exactly work in Apex Legends or whatever. And yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much a rundown of this map. And also, I'm saying this again, you probably don't want to get stuck in tunnels or mines when when the zone is coming in, because that can be really unpredictable when it comes to the game. And I think that's kind of why I kind of designed this map, for it to be a little bit unpredictable and a little bit risky, treacherous, and really risky. That's pretty much what this map is. And there's a lot of POIs here, a lot of big POIs, and potentially some pretty good POIs as well. It all depends. A map like this, like, once again, would be really interesting in Apex Legends. Now, there's one question, is like, how exactly would a cave map work? Because it's underground. How the heck is a dropship going to come in? Well, there's actually like a few ideas. Well, a few ideas I have. One of my friends thought of. So the first idea I would have is that it's basically in an area where there's like an opening in all directions, but yet there's still like rock pillars holding up the ceiling of a massive cave or whatever. And this is basically just a pit, like that's inside of that cave, and it goes down. So basically the dropship could come from any direction in any of the openings. Well, it's one big opening basically, that's 360, but this is more of like a pit than it is like exactly a cave, and like there's multiple mini caves inside of it. Whatever. And then the other one I had is there is no dropship. If the dropship theory doesn't work, I mean, that maybe teams get randomly spawned at any side of the map and they can just skydive or whatever, and they can go to wherever they're closest to or whatever. That would be really interesting. Or one way is that the dropship only goes in one direction. It comes out of one tunnel at either of the sides, and then it just goes across. Like this map, I feel like in terms of length and width, well, in length it looks like it'd be a little big, but in width, I don't really know. This would for sure be an interesting map with like some of the big POIs and such. I don't know how big it would be, like trying to put it in game and such, but again, I think it would be really interesting. And once again, with some of the verticality, it can make for some really strategic and risky plays. And yeah, and since it would be a lot more open than like the other maps, like it would for sure be interesting. And you got some decent rotations here to get across because it's pretty much all connected in a system or such. But yeah, really interesting. And I think that's the one word that I keep getting in mind, is that it's interesting. A big cave map. And yeah, I don't really know if I have much else to say. I'm pretty sure I covered everything. Every POI. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have. So yeah, that was my map concept for Apex Legends. It was a cave map called Subterrane, located on the planet Logrado, which is not an actual map, by the way. And also Logrado means accomplished in Spanish, so an accomplished map it is. Well, I'm pretty sure Logrado is accomplished in Spanish. I don't remember, but it doesn't matter. It's an interesting map. And yeah, that's going to be all for this concept, and that's going to be all for this video. So if you did enjoy, then be sure to give it a like, and if you're brand new here to the channel, be sure to subscribe and turn on that bell icon so you can get notified for whenever I upload a new video. Also, be sure to join the Discord server. The link will be in the description. Also, I have a Guilded server too, so if you have Guilded and are looking for any servers to join on there, I'll leave a link to that in the description too. Also, be sure to follow my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/3LNAX, and follow my Instagram. And yeah, once again, that's going to be all for this video. Let me know, what do you think of this map concept? Would you want to see a cave map in Apex Legends? Let me know. And also, what POI would be your favorite? Or whatever. But anyways, yeah, that's going to be all for this video, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.